The news. Did you hear any news this weekend that was of interest to you, Elisa?
Um, no. I don't think I watched the news since last week, honestly. I've since the holiday, since this weekend, I've been on the go. Actually, Friday, actually, it was starting Thursday. I was preparing for Friday because I met up with someone that I hadn't seen in over 30 plus years. And he only wanted to take me out because he knew how upset I was over our friends.
Was
and
this
he was like,
high school?
Let me take you out. What?
I was going to say, was this like a high school friend? When you talk about like 30 years, that's like,
No, 30 plus years. Actually, it's 40 plus years. We all went to grammar school together.
Wow.
We all know each other since we're like in diapers.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, basically all my friends that I hang out with or that I talk to, I know since I'm like 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
We've all kept in contact with one another.
You know who we didn't hear much about this week in the news? ISIS.
Well, they're celebrating the
That's
4th
a good
of July.
thing, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were partying,
They were setting off fireworks somewhere, I'm sure.
Speaking of news, that's the other thing that, America's sort of worried about, I mean, freeing up all this money for Iran. Are they going to use the money to fight, to continue their fighting with Sunni and Shia? Are they going to use it to fight against ISIS? How are they going to spend that money?
They're going to use it to fight us. What do you mean?
Well, that's why
That's what I was going to say.
That's why we're very reluctant. You really can't trust anything they say. That's very sad. When the battle lines are drawn, you don't even know who your friends are, who your allies are.
Well, they're not your allies because they'll tell you they're not your allies.
Now you got this problem with the Kurds and Turkey. I mean,
what's going on with
and
the
in
Kurds?
Pakistan, in Turkey, a lot of the people joining ISIS are coming through Turkey. To join ISIS.
What does it got to do with the Kurds?
Well, the Kurds are sworn enemies of ISIS.
Of course there was. I mean, you said the problems with the Kurds.
Iran and the Kurds. The Iranians don't like the Kurds either. But they're supposed to be allied against, ISIS. So who knows?
Listen.
I mean, let's face it, Donald Rumsfeld, when he was Secretary of Defense, didn't even know the difference between Sunni and Shia. A
lot of people didn't know the difference.
Yeah, but he was the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, that's true.
It shows you the kind of cabinet that Bush was putting together,
Well, I remember you'd never heard of Kurds until this all started.
Well, Kurdistan, that was all, when all these... The bigger countries, the land masses broke up, and, you got all these other little nations and countries.
Well, let's talk about another man who's made the news.
Cuba.
Donald Trump.
Well, what about Cuba?
What did they do?
Well, I haven't heard anything about Cuba.
We officially now have diplomatic relations with Cuba, but the Republicans are refusing to fund any money to have an embassy in Cuba or approve of any ambassador that Obama nominates to represent the United States in Cuba. This is what I mean. This could be a boom for business. They're only 90 miles from our coast. If you go to Key West, Florida, okay, and on a real clear day with a strong set of binoculars, you could see Cuba. You know, it's like Palin seeing Russia from her house, you know? I mean, the potential is there. I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, when you stop to think that back in the 50s, when Batista was president and you had the mob, you know, the mafia, the mob, having all these interests in Cuba, you know, I mean, Cuba was vacation land, the vacation spot for many Americans.
But it's not going to do us any good if we spend our money in Cuba. And that's the only thing that's going to happen.
But businesses will go
You gotta,
to Cuba.
you gotta look at the business point of view. I mean, let's face it, businesses today are not like it used to be.
What are businesses? What business
Like,
is
for
going to?
instance,
No, say what business is going to
I was
prosper
talking
from us
to
having
Scott
a relationship
earlier.
with them?
Labor
Now,
is cheap
Scott
in Cuba.
used to be,
So why is that good for us? That means we're going to be exporting more jobs to Cuba now. There is no plus.
yeah, but
to-
at least it'll boost up businesses and industries.
How? The Cubans have no money to
How?
buy anything. The Cubans have no money to buy anything.
Well, and then you hope that, you
The
know,
only
the
thing that's going to happen is we're going to be importing their cigars, and they're going to get our dollars.
No, I think there you're wrong. I think we can benefit quite a bit. You know,
I'd like to know how.
well, when we find out, we'll let you know, Felix. You know,
I mean, here's a country that has nothing. And what we need people is to buy our products. They have no money to buy anything. If we build a hotel there, they're
Yeah, but
going
we
to
don't have
benefit.
products that are made in the USA either.
So now we're going to have more products that are made in Cuba that are brought here. It serves
I'd rather it be made in Cuba than made it someplace else.
Why?
I'd rather spend, you know, well, for one thing, because if their economy flourishes, it can only help us. Okay, being 90
Exactly.
miles away. I mean, you're in business, Felix.
We can see where our money is going. Can we actually see where our money is going when it's like in Timbuktu or
Yeah, I mean, you know, you
somewhere
want to
far
send
away? We don't know what the
you want to send your money to China or Korea.
Korea is a good ally of ours. I have no problem with
Well,
Korea.
that depends which Korea.
Nothing goes to North Korea because North Korea doesn't want
I
to
was
deal
going
with
to
us.
say, you better not be going to North Korea.
North Korea wants nothing to do with us. The only thing they want to do with us is blow us up.
I'll tell them to get online. They have to get online for that.
Yeah, but I really don't see that many positive things happening from.
Well,
Even the Cubans don't think it's a positive thing.
how can you say that?
Most Cubans are opposed to it.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
I don't think that either.
What you go to they're revolting against what we did in Miami and little Cuba.
Yeah, but those are the Cuban exiles. You know, look, I'm not saying that they don't have. Look, they have strong memories of the abuses. That's why they managed to leave Cuba when they did. You know, most of them left Cuba in the very late 50s, early 60s, before the fall of Batista and the rise of the Castro brothers and communism. Okay, many of them have left family members behind in Cuba that I'm sure, if for no other reason, they would love to be reunited with. You know, they showed a guy waiting to catch a plane to Cuba. He hasn't seen his brother in 30 years. More than 30 years. What am I saying? You know.
Well, the thing is, even before this happened, you were able to go visit your family in Cuba anyway.
Well, before what happened?
Before our relationship.
Well, look, the bottom line is, as Obama said, 60 years worth of, foreign policy has not made any change at all, any dent, okay, in in our relationship. And what we're hoping for is that the United States would be a good role model as far as human rights, the human rights of Cubans, Cuban dissidents. There's still a report that there are some Americans that might still be imprisoned in Cuba. Okay.
Well, first thing is, my argument is not political. My argument was in a financial way. I just don't see any benefit financially from being partners with them or having a relationship with them. Politically, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with having a presence there. I mean, we're there now. We've been there for years.
What?
We've been in Cuba for years. Guantanamo.
Well, we don't consider that as Cuba, even though it is Cuba.
I believe we pay rent to the Cubans for that.
I'm sure we do. I'm sure they love to have American dollars. Let's face it.
Anyway, like I said, to me, financially, I don't see any advantages. Politically, I don't know. Cuba said they're not going to change in any way.
Look, there are many people of Cuban descent, like Marco Rubio, Gloria Estefan, Ted Cruz. A lot of these people have an axe to grind. Okay, they remember what it was like. Their parents remember what they fled the old they fled the Castro regime. But you have a new generation of Cubans now and a younger generation of Americans.
Well, the Cubans have not changed. And they still don't have any access to anything, and they don't know what the outside world is like. They don't have internet. They don't have any of the things that they have even in China, where they can see what's going on in the outside world. One thing I will say for Cuba, their education level is very good. Probably one of the literacy rate, I think, is one of the highest in the world. Their medicine is supposed to be top-notch. But they're very poor people.
I don't understand what you're saying. You're talking about their education level in medicine, and then you say they're very poor people. I don't understand.
I'm just giving some positives that they're very well educated. The literacy rate is one of the highest in the world there, and their the medicine there is advanced.
All right, so
but the poor,
what's
the people
wrong with
are
that?
sure nothing. I said those are the positives, but the economy and the people are very poor. And
I don't know, but they drive around in great cars. Let me tell you, those cars they're a throwback to the 1950s.
Yeah, if they were able to sell the cars to the Americans, they'd make a lot of money.
Let me tell you, American collectors would pay good money to get some of those
That's
cars.
what I just said. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the story with Cuba. We started talking before, and I don't know.
But you started talking about Trump.
Exactly.
Before we
We got
let's go back to the Donald.
So Donald hates Mexicans, and
No, he says some of them are okay.
yeah, I know exactly. And then today, a Mexican killed a woman in San Francisco.
Oh, did you hear that BS story that he was telling? He found the gun wrapped up in his shirt, and when he picked it up, it happened to go off and it killed her. That's his story. I mean, geez.
That's
Okay.
ridiculous.
it doesn't matter. But
Look, the bottom line is obviously somebody screwed up along the way with this guy because, he was the poor